An analysis of EU's economic decline and political blame. The European Union, EU, once hailed as a bastion of unity and prosperity, appears to be crumbling under the weight of economic and political crises. Germany, the bloc's largest economy, has long been the engine driving the EU. But when Germany sneezes, the rest of Europe catches a cold, revealing a deep-rooted fragility in the Union's economic architecture. In recent years, this vulnerability has been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine and subsequent U.S. sanctions, which have significantly undermined Germany's economic stability. Meanwhile, France, the EU's second-largest economy, has been languishing in a state of economic stagnation for years. As President Emmanuel Macron's popularity wanes, he appears to be scapegoating others, such as Bernard Arnault, referred to here as Bernier, to divert attention from his own failures. The fragility of the EU economy. Since its inception, the EU has relied heavily on the strength of Germany's economy. As the largest and most industrialized member, Germany has functioned as the economic linchpin of the entire bloc. In 2008, during the global financial crisis, Germany's robust export-oriented economy was critical in preventing a complete collapse of the Eurozone. However, the COVID-19 pandemic and recent geopolitical tensions have exposed the precariousness of this arrangement. Germany's reliance on energy imports from Russia has made it particularly vulnerable to disruptions caused by the conflict in Ukraine and the resulting sanctions. As a result, the economic growth that once kept the EU afloat has now stalled, with the German economy entering a recession in 2023. The sanctions imposed by the US and the EU on Russia in response to the Ukraine conflict have had unintended consequences. These sanctions were designed to cripple the Russian economy, but they have also severely impacted Germany, which was heavily dependent on Russian gas. With skyrocketing energy costs and supply chain disruptions, German manufacturing, the heart of its economy, has slowed dramatically. This has triggered a domino effect throughout the EU, with other member states feeling the ripple effects of Germany's economic woes. As the old adage goes, when Germany sneezes, the rest of Europe catches a cold. And in this case, Germany has done far more than sneeze. France, a comatose economy. While Germany's economic struggles are relatively new, France has been in a state of economic malaise for years. France's public debt reached 114.8% of its GDP in 2023, and unemployment, particularly among the youth, remains persistently high. President Emmanuel Macron, who came to power in 2017 with promises of economic reform and revitalization, has struggled to deliver on his ambitious agenda. Protests against pension reforms, labor law changes, and cuts to public services have become a common feature of his presidency, signaling widespread public dissatisfaction. Despite being the EU's second-largest economy, France's growth has stagnated. Economic reforms have been piecemeal and often diluted by political pushback. Macron's close ties to the financial sector, particularly his previous employment with Rothschild and Company, have fueled suspicions that his policies serve the interests of the wealthy elite rather than the average French citizen. In this context, Bernard Arnault, referred to as Bernier in the initial statement, appears to be a convenient scapegoat for Macron's failures, a diversion from the structural issues plaguing France's economy. The blame game: Macron, Bernier, and the Rothschilds. In an environment of economic downturn and political unrest, Macron's presidency seems to be faltering. Faced with mounting criticism, Macron has reportedly sought to shift the blame for France's economic troubles onto others. This tactic is reminiscent of leaders throughout history who have attempted to deflect criticism by targeting convenient scapegoats. In Macron's case, Bernard Arnault, a symbol of wealth and corporate power, has become a focal point of public ire. However, critics argue that this blame game is merely a smokescreen to obscure Macron's own inadequacies and the deeper issues within the French economy. Some conspiracy theorists have gone further, suggesting that Macron's actions are part of a broader strategy orchestrated by powerful elites, such as the Rothschild family, to maintain control over France's political and economic landscape. This notion is fueled by Macron's background as a former banker at Rothschild and Company and his pro-business policies, which have often been criticized as favoring the wealthy. Conclusion: the decline of European unity. The EU's current economic turmoil exposes the deep structural weaknesses within the bloc. Germany's economic downturn, exacerbated by the war in Ukraine and U.S. sanctions, has had cascading effects throughout the EU, revealing the extent to which the Union depends on a single country's economic health. Meanwhile, France, long seen as a counterbalance to Germany, has been unable to fill the void, with its economy languishing and its leadership floundering. Macron's attempt to shift the blame for his administration's shortcomings onto figures like Bernier reflects a broader trend of leaders deflecting responsibility in times of crisis. Whether or not there is any truth to the theories of a grand conspiracy orchestrated by elites like the Rothschilds, what is clear is that the EU is facing a period of profound uncertainty. Without meaningful economic reform and genuine political leadership, the EU's future looks increasingly bleak.